It now gives me great pleasure to introduce our distinguished speaker for this ceremony. Today, Chadron State College is privileged to have as its commencement speaker one of Western Nebraska's outstanding leaders and public servants. Chadron State is also proud to present Keith Blackledge with its Distinguished Service Award in recognition for his longtime support of this college and all of Western Nebraska. Today's commencement program includes considerable information about Mr. Blackledge, but I would like to highlight for you some of the ways he has served our state and our region and provide some of his background. Keith was born in Sheridan, Wyoming, but grew up in Scotts Bluff. He's a military veteran who served during both World War II and the Korean War. He received a degree in journalism from the University of Missouri and taught at the University of Nebraska School of Journalism. Mr. Blackledge was a reporter and editor for the Miami Herald in Florida and the Dayton Journal-Herald in Ohio, but returned to Nebraska as executive editor of the North Platte Telegraph in 1967, and later was named vice president and director of public affairs for that newspaper. Under his direction, the Telegraph was a consistent winner in Nebraska Press Association contests and was a three-time winner of Inland Daily Press William Allen White Awards for editorial excellence. While he retired in 1992, he continues to write a weekly column for the newspaper. Mr. Blackledge has an exceptional record of community service and has been the leader in many statewide organizations. He was instrumental in launching the Mid-Nebraska Community Foundation and initiated formation of a Habitat for Humanity affiliate in North Platte. Then he served as president of both organizations. He and his wife, Mary Ann, spent 2 months working as volunteers in Habitat for Humanity International Headquarters in Americus, Georgia in 2003. He has also served as president of the North Platte Jaycees and the North Platte Chamber of Commerce. In 1987, he was appointed by Governor Kay Orr to the Board of Trustees of the Nebraska State Colleges, which oversees Chadron State and the other 2 state colleges. He became the chairman of the Board of Trustees and also has been chairman of the Nebraska Humanities Council, the Nebraska Public Radio Foundation, the Nebraska Educational Telecommunications Commission, and the Nebraska State Historical Society. He has received the Nebraska Humanities Council Sowers Award, the State Historical Society's Preservation Award, and the University of Nebraska Journalism Alumni Award of Excellence. He was inducted into the Nebraska Newspaper Hall of Fame in 2005. Now Chadron State is pleased to recognize Keith Blackledge with this Distinguished Service Award. It's our way of saying thank you for volunteering so much of your time and energy to serve us all. Keith, before you get up here, I'd like to recognize your wife. Would you please stand and be recognized? Keith, I want you to come up now and let me give you your Distinguished Service Award. This is an award that we are very honored to present to you today. Let me put this over your hat.
That works.
It sort of does. No, it doesn't.
Afraid to take the hat off, I won't get it
Okay,
back.
I will just hand this to you. Well, there we go. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And this is also yours, but we'll leave it right there. You don't need
Thank you, Dr. Park. Graduates, friends, parents, and distinguished guests. I won't run through the list again. Isn't this a happy time? If the drought isn't broken, it's at least badly cracked. I belong to Rotary Club in North Platte, and we have a tradition, which a lot of organizations do. At the start of every meeting, we have a good news time. And if you have some good news, you get up and pay $1 and you tell what your good news is. And about this time of year, quite a few Rotary members get up and say, my son or my daughter just graduated from Chadron State or someplace else, and pay their $1, and quite often they pay another $1 to say, and he has a job. That is really good news for a lot of parents. When Dr. Park called me about this award and the opportunity to speak at your commencement, I really thought she might have the wrong number. There is someone from North Platte who has done much to distinguish Chadron State, but he's still a student, so I suppose he was not eligible. Danny Woodhead and I do have quite a bit in common, besides being from North Platte. We both played football. He is small and quick. I was small and slow. A single word can make a big difference in the message, and that's a good thing to remember when you're sending out your job applications. It is a thrill for me to be here. It isn't often that an old guy gets a chance to convey the wisdom of his years to a captive audience. And you really are a captive audience. Pay attention, there will be a test. It won't be the sort of test you're used to. There's just one question. That question is, what will you do with the rest of your life? The answer is multiple choice, and you get to grade yourself. Hopefully the final exam is a long way off, but don't kid yourself, there is one. I'd like to talk about some of the life lessons I've learned in 80 years. Relax, I didn't learn that much, and I wouldn't give you the whole 80 years worth anyway. Actually, I did play a little high school football. I was an undistinguished left guard on a team that had 5 losses, 1 tie, and didn't score a touchdown until the last quarter of the last game. It's hard to believe that would be an educational experience, but it was. I got to thinking, thought quite a bit after the season was over, and as I grew up, got into different things in life. I relived those 2 games that we played best, and I realized that there was a difference in the way I played in those games. Ordinarily, I think I went into a game slowed by the fear of making a mistake that the coach would notice and everyone else would notice. But in 2 games, I pushed aside that self-consciousness and that fear and played with a lot of energy, and it seemed to make a difference. I've thought of that as a lesson that you don't have to be the quarterback or the star running back to make a difference in the results. I know it sounds silly, but time and again over all these years, when I became involved in something larger than I thought I could handle, I thought about how it felt to play in those 2 games. Don't worry about who is watching, I tell myself. Get in there and play hard and see what happens. I'm not done, but I'm dry. I love to be around heroes, on the football field or on the field of life. Would that I could have been one. But I speak also for those of you who haven't played in starring roles. The game begins anew for everyone here. Each of you has more to offer the world than you may know. I love the message in a little sign I saw somewhere. It said, quote, "Due to a shortage of devoted followers, the production of great leaders has been discontinued." If my life has been one of service, as the plaque says, it has largely been because I picked good leaders to follow in worthwhile causes. By working as hard as I knew how in those endeavors, I sometimes found I could make a difference, and I guess that is a part of leadership. Whether you're looking to become a leader or a follower, don't be fooled by appearances. When I went to work at the newspaper in North Platte, the advertising manager was a pudgy, balding guy who had never been to college. I think the other young reporters thought he was an antique. I thought he was pretty smart, and I listened to what he had to say, and he taught me a lot that I hadn't learned in college. Once when I thought I should apologize for receiving more credit than I deserved on some project, he told me not to fret about it. "You will get plenty of blame you don't deserve too," he said. "Over the years it will balance out." That philosophy works both ways. Turned around, it makes much of the sting out of being criticized when things go wrong. It will balance out, you remind yourself. I belong to an occupation that draws a lot of criticism. I was able to be happy in that job because I didn't take either praise or criticism too seriously. I knew it would all work out. This friend and mentor also had contributed much time and energy in efforts to make North Platte a better community. He got no pay for those efforts and very little recognition. "I do those things for my own satisfaction," he said. "I don't expect gratitude. If you do something because you think it will get you a pat on the back, you are almost certain to be disappointed. If you don't expect it, and it comes, that's icing on the cake." I don't know if any of you feel the uncertainty that I felt when I graduated from the University of Missouri in 1950. And incidentally, it rained cats and dogs on that day too, and we had an outdoor graduation ceremony. And it's hard to remember now anything that the speaker said. The speaker was also quite distinguished. It was Harry S. Truman. But I was very uncertain about what I wanted to do. I didn't want a 9-to-5 job. I thought I would hold off real-world demands by enrolling in graduate school. There may be some of you who have the same idea now. The Korean crisis intervened, and I spent 2 years in the Air Force instead. And it wasn't tough duty, but by the time it was over, I was prepared to trade the uniform for any sort of civilian job. And I knew then, although I was out of college and out of the military, that I still needed some growing up. My life had been fairly well charted. Parents provided food and shelter. School or college provided activity and purpose. The military told me where to go and what to do, and fed me well in the process. Now, a lot of those motivations, a lot of those decisions were up to me. I would have to make choices. I had a wife and a small son, and the key word, I think, was responsibility. I would be responsible not only for my family and my job, but for deciding how my life would turn out. And I did make mistakes. I'm not talking about typographical errors, although I made enough of those. I'm talking about career choices and life choices, the kind of multiple choices, decisions you will be making after you leave here. When I quit worrying that someone would notice the mistakes and threw myself into whatever task came along, things often came out right, as had been the case on that forlorn high school football team. When I played hard, those around me played better too. You will do all right. Remember, you were at Chadron when people were saying the University of Nebraska had the second best football team in the state. Never put yourself down because you went to a small college. Never put yourself down if you happen to have grown up in a small community. I worked in large cities and small cities, worked on large papers and small papers. Large papers pay better, small papers are more fun. I'm sure that none of you can ever imagine being 80. I can't get used to it either. But I can tell you that when you reach that point, what will be important is not how much money you made, but how many real friends are there to see you off on what our poet laureate John G. Neihardt called the next great adventure. You should give some attention, therefore, to developing an honorable character, a character that will sustain you whether you're a leader or a follower, and in bad times as well as good. And the character you develop is your responsibility. It's something your parents can't give to you. You can't buy it at Walmart. You have to earn it day by day. And as no one can give it to you, no one can take it from you. I have one more thing. I suppose many of you will be going out on job interviews. This bit of advice may be worth remembering if you remember nothing else I've said. And it comes not from me, but from the wacky poetry of L.C.L. Silverstein. And the title is God's Wheel. God says to me with kind of a smile, "Hey, how would you like to be God for a while and steer the world?" "Okay," says I'll give it a try. Where do I sit? How much do I get? What time is lunch? When can I quit? "Give me back that wheel," says God. "I don't think you're quite ready yet." I hope you are ready. Our world badly needs a fresh supply of great leaders and devoted followers. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.